In China's glittering entertainment world, where fame burns fast and silence comes faster, one man's name has quietly lingered behind a string of misfortunes. He's not a pop idol, not a movie star, but somehow his presence seems to drift through every story that ends in tragedy. His name is Cheng Qingsong, a film critic, screenwriter, and cultural commentator once hailed as a rare voice of honesty in a carefully controlled industry. For years, he built a reputation as a fearless observer, creating the Golden Broom Awards to mock the worst films and founding the Youth Film Handbook to celebrate independent cinema. But in the public imagination, he became something else entirely. A figure that always seemed to resurface whenever a beloved actor was suddenly gone. Every few years, when headlines announce another young star's mysterious passing, online forums resurrect the same question. Why is Cheng Qingsong's name here again? He denies any connection, and no official report ever suggests otherwise. Yet the rumors persist, fueled by screenshots, memories, and a collective unease that refuses to die. In this story, we won't accuse or condemn. We'll simply follow the strange pattern, the recurring shadow of a man who never meant to be part of these tragedies, but somehow always was. Long before his name became tangled with mystery, Cheng Qingsong was known as one of China's sharpest film critics. In the early 2000s, when most writers echoed official reviews, he wrote with unsettling honesty, sometimes mocking the biggest productions, other times defending obscure indie directors whose films barely saw daylight. His words carried both danger and charm. Dangerous because they challenged authority, charming because they spoke the truth so many others were too afraid to say. In 2007, he founded the Youth Film Handbook, a publication that quickly became a hub for independent filmmakers, actors, and critics who lived outside China's mainstream industry. For a brief moment, it looked like the country's cinematic underground had found its voice. Then came the Golden Broom Awards, Cheng's ironic response to Hollywood's Razzies. Every year, he gathered journalists to nominate the worst films in China, mocking blockbusters, producers, and even state-backed projects. It was bold, it was funny, and it made him famous. But fame in China's entertainment world doesn't come without consequence. Publicly humiliating major studios and A-list stars turned Cheng from a cultural provocateur into a marked man. Within a few years, the Golden Broom became more than an award show. It was a barometer of who in the industry had fallen from grace. Some insiders loved his brutal honesty. Others whispered that he was building quiet influence, capable of shaping public opinion with a single headline. The more he criticized, the more people watched, and with every controversy, his image grew darker and more magnetic. By the 2000s, Cheng Qingsong was no longer just a critic. He had become what insiders called a cultural broker, someone who could connect actors with directors, writers with studios, gossip with strategy. His personal Weibo page turned into a stage where art and politics blurred. Sometimes he posted poetic reflections about film. Other times, cryptic remarks that fans interpreted as hidden messages about scandals yet to break. Whether intentional or not, those posts fueled his reputation as a man who knew too much and spoke too little. He also became a rare public figure who openly discussed his sexuality, a move considered courageous in China's conservative media landscape. It made him both admired and vulnerable. Supporters praised his transparency, calling him a symbol of creative freedom. Critics labeled him provocative, someone who thrived on controversy. In a world obsessed with image management, Cheng stood out because he refused to wear a mask. Yet that defiance, some would later argue, drew him closer to the storm that was already brewing. By the time young actors like Qiao Renliang and Gao Yixiang began to dominate headlines, Cheng's social circle overlapped with theirs through film festivals, interviews, and art events. To many, he was simply a cultural commentator. To others, an insider who saw the darker corners of the entertainment system, the pressure, exhaustion, and silent battles for survival. He was the man with access to every room, invited to every table, yet belonging to none. When the tragedy started, his name would appear again, not because of evidence or involvement, but because the public needed someone to symbolize the hidden machinery behind the screen. And Cheng Qingsong, with his intelligence, mystery, and refusal to conform, became the perfect ghost for people to chase. The Chinese entertainment world is small, smaller than it looks from the outside. Beneath the neon lights of Beijing's film studios and the gossip columns of Shanghai's tabloids, there exists a tightly wound network of producers, critics, and actors who orbit the same events, award shows, and private dinners. By the early 2000s, Cheng Qingsong had become one of the fixed points in that constellation. He was the connector, the man who could bridge the mainstream and the independent scene, the film critic who somehow knew everyone. In that world moved a new generation of actors, young, handsome, ambitious, and already under enormous pressure. Names like Shang Yubo, Qiao Renliang, and later Qiao Renliang and Yu Menglong filled social media feeds. Some had worked with directors Cheng promoted in his magazine. Others appeared at the same festivals or discussion panels he hosted. To the public, it looked like an artistic family, a creative circle that encouraged risk-taking and authenticity in a culture obsessed with image control. For a time, it was exactly that. Cheng championed youth talent, sharing independent projects on Weibo and encouraging audiences to see films that major studios ignored. He mentored new voices, praised raw performances, and used his influence to push for bolder storytelling. But with visibility came scrutiny. Whenever he praised an actor too passionately, gossip sites twisted it into rumor. When a performer he once supported faced career trouble, users online whispered that Cheng's shadow had appeared again. After Shang Yubo's sudden death in 2011, archived posts from that period show Cheng among those expressing shock and sympathy. There was nothing unusual, no accusation, no suspicion. Yet years later, when forums rediscovered that screenshot, they read it differently, framing him as a recurring character in a narrative he never wrote. When Qiao Renliang died in 2016, the cycle repeated. Bloggers dug through old interviews, connecting stray comments, drawing lines that may never have existed. It wasn't evidence. It was pattern recognition turned into folklore. As Qiao Renliang's collapse on set in 2019 reignited debates about overwork and mental health, Cheng once again appeared on timelines, not for involvement, but for commentary. He posted condolences and wrote about systemic pressure in the industry, a message that was both compassionate and critical. Still, some readers treated his insight as something more, as if he were hinting at secrets no one else dared to speak. Then came 2024, when unverified online rumors claimed he had attended a private gathering, days before the disappearance of Yu Menglong. The story spread fast, then vanished just as quickly after Cheng publicly denied being there. No report ever confirmed it. Yet by then, perception had hardened. He had become a symbolic constant in a decade of loss. Whether by coincidence or by the collective imagination of fans searching for meaning, Cheng Qingsong's name had become shorthand for tragedy itself. In truth, there is no proof that these connections were anything more than proximity. People working in the same city, the same industry, within the same small orbit. But in the emotionally charged space of Chinese celebrity culture, proximity can feel like destiny. Every time a bright young actor's story ended too soon, the public didn't just mourn, they looked for the familiar name that always seemed to be nearby. And when they found it, even by accident, the myth grew stronger. The idea that one man somehow stood in the background of every fall. It began with a single post. On a humid evening in June 2024, a small Weibo account claimed that director and critic Cheng Qingsong had been seen at a private event days before actor Yu Menglong allegedly disappeared from public view. Within hours, screenshots flooded fan circles, each adding a slightly different detail. A dinner, a party, a late-night meeting. None of the accounts provided evidence. Most used phrases like someone said or heard from a friend. But in China's online ecosystem, repetition is proof. By midnight, hashtags containing both names climbed the trending list. Comment sections filled with anxious speculation, fans piecing together timelines from old photos, past collaborations, and half-remembered interviews. A short clip showing Cheng entering a Beijing art house theater months earlier was reshared thousands of times under captions implying it was that night. The video had nothing to do with the rumor, yet it looked convincing enough to keep the story alive. Cheng responded quickly. On his verified Weibo account, he wrote a short statement denying that he had attended any gathering related to Yu Menglong. He described the circulating posts as fabricated and irresponsible, then locked his comment section to prevent further chaos. The post was formal, restrained, and ended with one line that stood out. Rumors are easy to start when silence becomes entertainment. That sentence went viral. Supporters praised his composure. Critics dissected every word, searching for hidden meaning. Within 24 hours, state-linked outlets issued brief notes, urging the public not to spread unverified information. The hashtags vanished from search results, and the story dissolved into digital dust. But the memory of it remained, and with it, the sense that Cheng Qingsong had once again been caught inside a narrative he couldn't control. Observers later described the episode as a perfect example of China's information cycle of panic. A rumor appears, accelerates through fandom networks, peaks with a flood of emotional comments, then disappears once moderation tightens. The speed of deletion, rather than calming people, fuels deeper suspicion. To many netizens, a vanished post looks more truthful than an official statement. For Cheng, the consequences were intangible but lasting. His public image shifted from outspoken critic to recurring mystery figure, the man whose name appears whenever tragedy strikes. Some journalists quietly admitted that even they had begun checking his social media feed whenever an actor's story turned dark, as if expecting him to post first. It was no longer about guilt or innocence. It was about presence. The 2024 rumor may have lasted less than 2 days, but its echo continues to shape how audiences interpret coincidence. In the absence of clear information, patterns become stories, and stories become truth. Cheng Qingsong's only crime, it seems, was being visible in an industry that fears visibility. Yet the more he tried to explain, the stronger the myth grew. By the time the dust settled, the question was no longer whether the rumor was real, but why people wanted it to be. And perhaps that is the heart of every online tragedy. Not the facts that vanish, but the faith people place in what they cannot prove. In China's entertainment world, silence is not just a reaction, it's a reflex. The system that produces fame also dictates what can be said after fame collapses. When tragedy strikes, companies move fast to control the narrative. Posts vanish, statements are delayed, and friends of the deceased are quietly advised not to speak. The official reason is always the same: respect for privacy. But behind that phrase lies a more practical motive: fear. Actors, managers, and producers know how fragile careers can be. A careless word, a misplaced tribute, or even a sympathetic repost can attract unwanted attention from regulators or sponsors. The result is a culture where grief is private, questions are dangerous, and forgetting becomes a form of protection. The industry calls it professionalism. Outsiders call it erasure. Either way, the effect is the same. Public silence deepens the mystery. Cheng Qingsong learned this rule long ago. After every wave of online speculation, he stopped engaging, understanding that defense only amplifies noise. Yet his very silence became part of the story. Each time he refused interviews or avoided public comment, commenters interpreted it as confirmation. In an environment that rewards compliance and punishes confrontation, silence is both shield and weapon. It hides the truth, but also protects the person holding it. For younger actors, the message is clear. Vulnerability must be disguised as strength. Behind every glossy publicity campaign are strict image contracts that control not only behavior, but emotion. Mental health, burnout, and exhaustion rarely enter public discourse unless framed as moral failure. The system doesn't tolerate weakness because weakness breaks illusion, and illusion is the product being sold. This quiet pressure explains why, after each tragedy, so few insiders speak out. They aren't part of a conspiracy. They're surviving within a hierarchy that teaches discretion as currency. Speaking too soon or too honestly can end a career faster than a scandal itself. Those who do talk, like Cheng, find their words dissected, repackaged, and weaponized by audiences hungry for meaning. Sociologists call this phenomenon collective caution, a social behavior born from censorship, commerce, and fear of public shame. It's why rumors thrive even when facts are absent. The silence of those who know invites imagination from those who don't. In that vacuum, figures like Cheng Qingsong become lightning rods for uncertainty. They represent the tension between what can be said and what must remain unsaid. Over time, this pattern has shaped an entire generation of audiences to read between the lines, rather than believe official statements. A deleted post means more than a press release. An untouched comment section feels like guilt. The truth becomes secondary to the performance of truth. In this landscape, silence is not emptiness. It's communication by omission. And every time the industry falls quiet, the echo finds its way back to the same question. If no one can speak freely, how can anyone ever clear their name? Most people, when swallowed by rumor, retreat. They erase old posts, deactivate accounts, and disappear until the next scandal takes their place. Cheng Qingsong did the opposite. Each time his name resurfaced amid whispers and speculation, he returned to the same platforms that had turned him into a target. Not to argue, but to observe. His tone was detached, almost ironic, as if the chaos surrounding him was just another story to be studied. "When everyone talks," he once wrote, "the loudest sound is still silence." That sentence became a statement of identity. Cheng wasn't just surviving in the public eye, he was redefining what it meant to exist within censorship's shadow. His posts mixed humor with melancholy, biting social critique with confessions disguised as jokes. To his followers, he was a rare truth teller. To his detractors, an opportunist who thrived on controversy. Either way, he refused to vanish. Through the Youth Film Handbook, he continued publishing essays that challenged the industry's moral compass. He wrote about how fame in China had become a mass hallucination, where people performed happiness until they forgot how to feel it. He questioned why young actors were pushed to exhaustion, and why agencies managed their personalities as if they were assets on a spreadsheet. None of his articles named names, yet readers always found parallels to recent tragedies. Some praised his courage, others accused him of exploiting sorrow. But behind the debate, his intention seemed clear: to remind the audience that art without humanity is just noise. In interviews, Cheng rarely addressed the rumors directly. When asked about them, he smiled, saying, "I am only guilty of loving cinema too much." It was the kind of answer that sounded both evasive and poetic, enough to frustrate those demanding clarity, yet elegant enough to disarm hostility. Over time, this ambiguity became part of his brand. The critic who outlived every scandal because he never played by its rules. His critics claimed he knew how to use tragedy to remain relevant. His supporters argued he used visibility to expose what others feared to acknowledge, the cost of silence itself. Somewhere between those views lay the truth. Cheng Qingsong had become both participant and witness in a system that punished honesty, but couldn't function without it. Even when his reputation dipped, he remained a fixture at film festivals and art forums. Younger directors still sought his endorsement, actors still quoted his words. He turned survival into a form of rebellion, a reminder that endurance, too, can be protest. In an industry where disappearance often equals defeat, he simply refused to leave. His resilience wasn't about arrogance, but understanding. Cheng knew that once a story begins, disappearing only strengthens the myth. By staying visible, he diluted its power. It was a paradox. The man accused of being everywhere learned that the only way to escape the narrative was to walk straight through it. As the years passed, his once feared candor became part of China's cultural folklore, a symbol of how one man's voice could linger through cycles of tragedy and silence. He didn't silence his critics, he outlasted them. And maybe that, more than anything, explains why his shadow still flickers across every story the industry tries to forget. Years have passed, yet Cheng Qingsong's name still drifts through China's entertainment circles, like a rumor that refuses to die. He has become less of a person and more of an idea, a reminder that in an industry built on illusion, truth is never clean and silence is never empty. He didn't create the tragedies that followed him, but he lived long enough to witness how each one reshaped the meaning of fame. Every time another story fades, his shadow flickers again, not because of guilt, but because of the world's need to connect dots that may never align. In a culture that fears questions more than answers, someone like Cheng becomes both symbol and scapegoat, the face of everything people are afraid to confront. Perhaps that's why he endures. He stands at the edge of China's entertainment machine. Neither hero nor villain, just a mirror reflecting the ghosts of those who didn't survive its rhythm. His presence reminds us that silence, once repeated often enough, becomes history. And in that history, one truth remains. The man who keeps showing up in every tragedy was never the story itself. He was what the story tried to hide. This is Criminal Tracks. Remember the names they try to erase, because memory is the only thing the system can't control.